travel, but I know my way back home. Our love ain't purely physical, but I never have to roam. Well, she's always there for me. It's simple, can't you see? She's the one. Oh, she's the one. Everything is magical, even when she's not around. No, it's not that radical, I just know what I have found. Well, she's always there for me. It's simple, can't you see? She's the one. Oh, she's the one. She's making my life so much stronger. God, let me stay just a little bit longer. She's the one. Yeah, she's the one. Yeah.
Welcome to JC Stocks and Markets for July 2nd, 2022. I'm JC. I've been investing in the stock market for 40 plus years. I've made good trades and investments and some not so good. My intentions with these podcasts are to share my unique thoughts and opinions on individual stock and ETF picks with an emphasis on dividend-paying securities, which are my favorites. The idea is to share my thoughts and possibly give you, the listener, some investment ideas so you and I maybe make some money. During some shows, we may stray into other topics or news that affect the stocks or ETFs that we are discussing. That can include commentary on government and politics, the Federal Reserve policies, current events, or just general thoughts that rattle around in my melon. To help me deliver the true picture to the listener, I've created a blog called JC's Stocks and Markets. This blog will have a record of the graphics, charts, lists, facts, helpful statistics, and anything else that will assist everyone in the audience to follow and better understand my rationale on the topic that we are discussing, and of course to back the episode's thesis. The information will be posted on the blog prior to the podcast upload, so you can follow along if you wish. The name of the blog's site address is jcstocksandmarkets.blogspot.com. That's jcstocksandmarkets.blogspot.com. The opinions shared in these podcasts are my own, and they are just that, opinions. I invest in many of the stocks and ETFs that are featured in the podcast, and I'll try to let you know if I have or will establish a position in these securities. Here's my disclaimer. By all means, everybody has to do their due diligence prior to investing any money into anything. With these stock picks, they're no exception. Do your own due diligence. With that, let's go make some money. Well, on JC's Stocks and Markets podcast, today we'll feature an ETF, symbol SPHD, Invesco S+P500 high dividend, low volatility ETF. With the economy having its issues, the Federal Reserve having to raise rates to combat inflation. If you are an investor that prefers to be invested in the markets, the goal for every investor is to preserve capital and grow money, and even in down markets. If this is what you are looking for, the Invesco SPHD ETF might suit you well. Let's dive in. The Invesco S&P 500 high dividend low volatility ETF is managed so that the funds in the ETF are invested in at least 90% of securities that are in the S&P 500. The intent is to match the composition of and to perform similar to the 50 least volatile, let's say low beta or lower beta, high yielding securities of the S&P 500 as of the last 12 months. So a simpler explanation of SPHD would be that it's comprised of higher yielding dividend paying stocks that are also less susceptible to or move less than the market. SPHD has a beta of 0.9. It correlates with the S&P 500 and it is positive. The lower the beta is on a security, if beta's positive number, if it correlates to the market's moves, the less it will move up or down with the markets. The next thing you'll see is this is straight from the Invesco SPHD prospectus dated December 17th, 2021. The fund generally will invest at least 50% of its total assets in the securities that comprise the underlying index. I'm not going to read this whole thing. You can read it on your own. As of August 31st, 2021, the underlying index was comprised of 50 securities with market capitalizations ranging from $6.45 billion to $257 plus billion. The fund employs a full replication methodology in seeking to track the underlying index, meaning that the fund generally invests all of its securities comprising the underlying index in proportion to their weightings in the underlying index. The fund will concentrate its investments in securities of issuers in any one industry or group of industries only to the extent that the underlying index reflects a concentration in that industry or group of industries. That is, if they have a lot of, let's say, energies now, it'll be similar to that grouping percentage in the S&P 500. The fund will not otherwise concentrate its investments in securities of issuers in any one industry or group of industries. The next two graphics you're going to see are more or less the schedule investments right off the Invesco website. They include stocks in a number of different industries, and they indicate the percentages of each industry in there. I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see that we're looking at large companies. Most of them, if not all of them, are money making, and they all pay good dividends, and it's pretty diversified. Again, for someone who's investing in this market, and it's kind of an iffy market with the economy as it is, it's a pretty diversified fund. The next three graphics I grabbed from Fidelity.com for the stock SPHD. I like to call them fun facts, or they're concentrated facts on the ETF. The fund's characteristics: price to earning ratio 15.3, forward price to earnings ratio 15.1, price to book 2.24, return on equity 22%. 30-day trading volume is 1.6 million per day, which is pretty good. That means you can get a pretty good, the spread's not going to be real wide on it when you go to trade it. Shares outstanding are 86 million, and the market value is $3 billion as of June 29th. The third one is something I like, the management fee. The management fee is 0.3%, which is pretty low. And the expense ratio, again, is 0.3. Pretty low for a large amount of money that's invested. Good for the ETF. This next screenshot, which you can also find on JC's Stocks and Markets.blogspot.com. That's JC's Stocks and Markets.blogspot.com. That's my blog. It's a screenshot from Yahoo Finance, which is really a recent quote, and it shows some interesting. Yahoo's pages are pretty good. As much as I don't like Yahoo's political slantings, they do have a pretty good Yahoo Finance site. And you can see you've got all sorts of good statistics there. The yield's 3.59%. We are looking for dividend stocks and ETFs. And this is a dividend stock as well. It pays monthly dividends to the tune of about 3.6%, as I said just earlier. It varies. The payout per month, generally it's between 14 and 15 cents per share per month. You can see from the historical information for the monthly distributions, again, that I got from the Yahoo Finance site, you can see that they pay out pretty consistently, and it's been growing a little bit. But again, it's very conservative, and for the conservative investor, especially in these times, these are trying economic times and definitely trying for the stock market, this might be one you can consider. The next graphic I've got is a chart, a 3-month chart of the SPHD stock with Bollinger Bands and that sort of thing. It's really semi-important. Generally, this follows the path of the S&P 500 or the SPY ETFs. I'm just showing it up there for reference. Meaning it generally follow, but with the beta is 0.9, so that it's really going to follow generally at about 90% of the movement of the S&P 500. It's not always the case. Earlier this year, SPHD had a good move upward. I would say Chevron was a big part of that, and the energies as well. Chevron went from about 110 to 170. Concurrent with that run, SPHD rose. The ETF price ended up being over 49 cents a share. Right now, it's pulled back to $44 a share, or about 10%. the market acting as it is, you may think that the S&P is going lower, which indeed would send SPHD lower, or you might think it's going higher. So your timing and where you want to buy, that's your individual choice. I have a decently sized position that I've had for a while. I reinvest all of the monthly dividends back into SPHD. So far, I've had reasonable returns on my investment, basically in the neighborhood of about 10% over the past year. Total return for SPHD for the past 10 years is about an average 10.9%, and that includes the dividends reinvestment and stock appreciation. At this point in the podcast, I would typically give a projection for the share price, but in this case, if you believe the market and the S&P are going to move up, you'll likely see appreciation, obviously. I would say that Invesco is a well-managed set of investments. They have a pretty wide variety of stocks that are in this SPHD portfolio. And you really have to gauge it on that, whether you think these types of companies, the industries, are going to be growing or not. If they pay a good dividend, if you're looking for a drip, again, if you've got time, not a bad move. I'll throw in a bonus for you listeners who listen to the bitter end of this podcast. In this stock environment, it's tough. If you're looking for lower volatility with an ETF with some dividends, you might want to also look at the Invesco SPLV S&P 500 low volatility ETF. That might be better suited for you. The dividend payout is monthly. It's also nice for the dividend investor. It pays the equivalent of about 1.9% annually, and the 5-year monthly beta for the SPLV is 0.71. So it's going to correlate about 70% of the movement of the S&P 500. That's what I can deliver in this podcast. I thank you for listening. I hope you find this podcast helpful. Please enjoy the music. It is a song called She's the One from a band called Just One Goat that I was in a while back. I'm the writer of the original song. My bandmates definitely made it happen. I miss performing a whole lot. Until next time, this is JC's Stocks and Markets podcast signing off. Happy investing and enjoy your 4th of July weekend.
But I never have to roam. Well, she's always there for me. It's simple, can't you see? She's the one. Oh, she's the one. Everything is magical, even when she's not around. No, it's not that radical, I just know what I have found. Well, she's always there for me. It's simple, can't you see? She's the one. Oh, she's the one. She's making my life so much stronger. God, let me stay just a little bit longer. She's the one. Yeah, she's the one. Yeah. Wasted all this time. She's the one. Oh, she's the one.